We've had Tezzerator, yes, but what about Yorion Tezzerator? Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Brett has challenged me to tune up his Yorion Tezzerator draft. Now, Yorion oftentimes doesn't come with that strict of a cost. Originally, when this companion was spoiled and when people first started playing with it, the general philosophy was that diluting your card by adding more bad cards doesn't actually help your deck. And getting a 4/5 flyer with some blinky goodness attached was not worth the downside of diluting your best draws. And then, as time went on, and especially as more cards just got printed, and the gap between card number like 60 in your deck and card number 80 in your deck narrowed a lot, it became less of a concern. But there is a bit of a difference between trying to play like 4-color Yorion blue soup, where you're just playing a bunch of really good cards, and playing something like Yorion Tezzerator, where all of your cards have to have a more narrow application because you are going to be very, very heavily artifact themed. And I'm going to jump into the deck list almost immediately here, but first I want to explain a combo that younger viewers might not have seen before, and that's sort of the Meek with Thopter Foundry. So this is a very unexciting magic card on its own. But if you pair it with Thopter Foundry, it gets kind of cool. So what happens is you sacrifice the sword to Thopter Foundry. You get a 1/1. The 1/1 then returns Sword of the Meek to play. And so you have infinite Thopters and infinite life, where the infinity is really just the amount of mana that you have. So it's a kind of a weak combo by Legacy standards, but it's going to serve a certain role in this deck that'll become clear in just a second. So let's take a look at Brett's initial deck list, and then let's look at how I changed it. As always, today's video is sponsored by both moxfield.com as well as Cool Stuff Inc. And if you need any paper magic cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order. This is what Brett originally sent me. And I don't think this is bad for a first draft. However, I've played a decent amount of Tezzeret in the past, and here's what I think the primary problem is: the mana base. And this is something that I come back to again and again and again on videos. When you are playing an Ancient Tomb deck list with colorless lands, you're really playing the number of colors your deck plays plus 1 in terms of the mana base strain. So if we are playing a Grixis deck that has Urza Saga and Ancient Tomb and Wasteland and City of Traders and Inventor's Fair, there's no way that we are going to realistically cast all of our cards on curve. So one of the first things that I wanted to do was try to get the mana base under control, and that's probably going to mean cutting the whole Crucible of Worlds Wasteland package, and probably cutting red as well, so that we can play something that is a little bit more reasonable. The other thing is that by playing a fetch land mana base, you are not playing artifact lands. And the artifact lands are really going to be the thing that turn on Mox Opal and that make your construct tokens just game ending, rather than a little bit annoying. And having artifact lands is probably the difference between Tezzeret being a 2-turn clock and not. A lot of times with Tezzeret, you can immediately plus it, and the next turn, -4 your opponent and hit them for 10. And if you're not playing artifact lands, that's not really a thing that's going to happen. Losing the red does pain my cold dead heart, because Ghirapur Ether Grid is a very nostalgic card for me. This card used to be a house versus control in Legacy. So let's take a quick look at how I tuned this up. All right, this is where I ended after the tune-up. So the first thing you'll notice is that we are down to the bare minimum in terms of colorless sources. I've cut a lot of the cute utility lands to just keep the Urza Saga and Ancient Tombs, which are the most powerful ones that we can be doing. I was on the fence about a couple copies of City of Traders, but ultimately decided against it. The downside of rebuilding my mana base like this is that we will be worse versus Meltdown and Nullrod effects. I think we're just going to accept that and move on. We are keeping the combo, and we are going up on Ensnaring Bridges. Ensnaring Bridge is a little awkward in this deck list in that we really do want to crash in with large construct tokens some portion of the time. But we have ways in our deck list to sacrifice an Ensnaring Bridge should we need to get our own bridge out of the way to get a kill. And after we go and remove the Goblin Engineers, I just wanted to have the full 4 of these so that I more frequently have access to these. One of the nice things about Ensnaring Bridge is that we can go and just hide and turtle up for a while and just kill our opponent ultimately with a large Tezzeret minus, or draw our card for turn, attack with our Thopters, and then pass the turn. Note here that we can actually make infinite Thopters because Urza can allow our artifacts to tap for mana. So we can tap both the Thopter and the sword to get 2 mana, and then we can actually net infinite mana by doing this combo, in addition to infinite life and infinite Thopters. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, as far as the sideboard goes, I'm playing Battle at the Bridge as just another way to gain some life. It seems like we'll be pretty good as the game goes long, but every once in a while we might need to help ourselves stay in the game for another turn or two before we can find the bridge or whatever that we need. Yeah, so there's a few things I'm still a little bit uncertain about, but I think this is good enough to go ahead and throw it into a league and see how it performs. Let's battle. This right here, this is some absolutely classic Tezzerator stuff, and this is why I added Dimir Signet to the deck. The ability to go Ancient Tomb, Dimir Signet, and then play 4-drop on turn 2 is really strong, and I'm very happy with this start accordingly. And the artifact lands that are here will make it so that when I actually do go and start making construct tokens, they're going to be thick. So Preordain is probably, not 100%, but probably an indicator that we are playing against Show and Tell. Make that sneak and show. So, I have options. If I would like to try to just win the game ASAP, then my line is play Urza and hope to draw another blue card for Force of Will. I only have 4 mana this turn, so I can't put Yorion to hand and play Chalice of the Void, which is a thing that I would like to do. I think I can't drop Force of Will this turn, unfortunately. I think that is just too risky. Chalice itself is a pretty mid play here, because it does not actually stop my opponent's primary win conditions. It doesn't stop Show and Tell, it doesn't stop Sneak Attack. And my opponent has had 3 cantrips to try to assemble both of those. So generally, ooh, that's interesting. That means that my opponent doesn't have it right now. They're missing something and they need cantrips. Okay. Because if they're ready to go, they just let this resolve. And it doesn't matter at all. If they're fighting over this, then there's a problem with their hand. So, yeah. They don't have it, at least not as of right now. I'm not going to play Mox Opal yet. For diversity, let's go ahead and put a Yorion to hand past the turn. I have a threat to back up this Chalice. Okay. Yep. All right. Yeah. I will go ahead and Yorion. bounce some stuff to untap some mana and call it a turn. I'm probably just dead. Like, let the record show. Not dead yet. That's not what I'm looking for in terms of follow-up plays here. I want an ensnaring bridge so fucking bad. I'm scared. Fuck. I drew a creature. And an Emrakul. So taking the Emrakul will deterministically kill me. So I'm going to just concede and move on. So I had the right read with my Force of Will that them countering the Chalice meant that their hand was weak. But I just couldn't follow up from there. So I want Force of Negation. That's probably about it. Engineered Explosives is very unexciting in this matchup for the most part. Shadow Spear is largely unnecessary. Emry's extra looks at Ensnaring Bridge, so that probably shouldn't go. Sort of the Meek Combo's pretty slow here. I'm going to leave one in the deck so that I can transmute for it. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Like, if I can transmute, I'm just going to transmute for things that stop my opponent or keep me alive. That's a very awkward Emry hand. Okay, how is this hand if I intend on pitching Emry to Force of Will? Still not very good. This can represent a Pithing Needle. I'm not excited about this. Let's mulligan this one. Yikes. We're gonna no-sir this one too. What have I done to deserve this? Alright, turn 1 Underground Sea. Opal, which is not on. Turn 2 Emry. Pitch these two on the mulligan. This is still bad. This is still very bad. This is the best hand so far. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep Tezzeret for a turn 2 play. Like, I'm soft to a single counterspell, but otherwise I get a shit ton of looks at Ensnaring Bridge over the course of this game. And this hand top decks better than any of the other hands. Turn 1, Sorcery Speed Brainstorm. I mean, I guess it's reasonable that I could be playing Orcish Bowmasters. I intentionally didn't put it in the deck list. Okay. Yeah, let's do that instead. Let's Trinisphere. Because if Trinisphere resolves, then Tezzeret resolves next turn as well. I can still get punked by Ancient Tomb Show and Tell. Alright, I have successfully protected Tezzeret from Force of Will. We'll see if I can get it to resolve next turn. I'm going to just deck thin here. It's of marginal importance, just mathematically speaking. And we are just jamming Tezzeret here. Alright, I am plussing. I would like to look for Ensnaring Bridge. Negative. Mox Opal versus Vault of Whispers. I have not made a land drop this turn, so I will take Vault of Whispers. And pass the turn. We'll see what my opponent's got here. They could have like an Impulse. Negative. Alright. I'm eating a show and tell. No. So we'd like Atraxa to not hit Force of Will. Fuck. Good Atraxa. Alright, so they took Ancient Tomb as their land. They took Preordain over Ponder. They did not take Sneak Attack. We're plussing Tez here. I can play 2 Chalices on 1. I don't think that matters. My opponent didn't take Sneak Attack, and they took that Ancient Tomb. It probably just means that they have Sneak Attack activate already. Force of Will already backs up and stops my Force of Will. So I guess the world where I'm still alive is the world where they messed up and just didn't click on Sneak Attack, and they need cantrips still. Not really a happy place to be working towards. Yeah, okay, that's in play. Did not successfully bait out a counter there. We're passing the turn. All right. Oh, cool. No, that's fine. Yep. And I still have Force of Will. I lose Tezzeret. Yep. With Force of Will backing up this Atraxa, I am deterministically dead, so I will concede. GG's. Generally speaking, Show and Tell is a very, very tough matchup for Chalice Trinisphere decks. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, which is, in my opinion, the best Magic the Gathering website for hosting your deck lists online. One of my favorite features is that you can create your own custom tags for when you're deck building. So let's say you're building a commander deck and you want to know, hey, how many copy effects do I have? You can just create a tag and sort everything, and there's fun little hotkeys so that you can do this more quickly. So really, please consider checking them out if you are looking to tinker with deck lists online. Okay, looking at the opening hand, my mana's pretty awkward. I'm just going to go ahead and ship this one. This is fine. I've got some tough decisions to make early here, and when I don't know what my opponent is playing, this is tough. Like, I can keep the Ensnaring Bridge that allows me to kind of play a prison-y game, but I think I would rather try to play Strix into Tezzeret, and then start Tezzeret minusing on some burbs and go to town that way. I think that's what I'm planning on doing. In theory, Strix Opal is Metalcraft for this to serve as a mana source for Tezzeret. I'm definitely scared to see Underground Sea on the other side of the table. If we are playing against something like Doomsday, my clock is probably not fast enough, and I don't have interaction. But we could just be playing against something like Grixis Delver, and everything's hunky-dory because I just have 2 Death Touchy birds. We'll see. All right. Let's bird it up. Pass the turn. I've got finishers now. Ooh, Cephalid Breakfast? Maybe Cephalid Breakfast. That's a weird draw. I'm going to play this as Dazable, just in case I draw like Urza Saga specifically. Force of Will is cool. Let's do this. Do this. I am going to Pithing Needle. Oh shit, folks, look at this. The coding has started for some of the Unfinity cards. We're going to hedge against Cephalid Breakfast by naming Nomads in Core. It's a little embarrassing if my opponent just goes and drops a Tezzeret, or not a Tezzeret, a Teferi next turn. But otherwise, this is pretty decent. Oh. Yes. No land drop. My opponent's hand is just chock full of gas. Good to know. Whatever spell I play next is somewhat unlikely to resolve. Noted. Let's attempt Tezzeret. Oh. Draw some cards. Not what I'm looking for. Yeah, we'll just continue like this. This game's not close enough to over where I feel like just immediately minusing the Tezzeret to make 5/5s, especially when my opponent has a Strix on board that I'm not going to be very good at removing. My goal is to just plus this into Oblivion and find more things that help lock my opponent out of this game. I don't care about. Like, Tezzeret is going to remain at this relative point of loyalty for a while. I am good with this. Brainstorm's fine. There's a fetch declare. Potentially have to worry about Uro coming down next turn. Chalice of the Void is probably of medium utility. So I think I start here and attempt to lock out cantrips and swords and stuff before I cast my Urza. Now let's cast this. Abrupt Decay the Chalice. Sure. So I do have this mode where for 5 mana I can spin. Not quite there currently. If I minus this and create a 5/5, an Orcish Bowmasters will kill my Tezzeret. I think I'm just plussing. Half a combo? I don't think so. I think it's just another Chalice of the Void. And we'll go ahead and ship on in there. Again, my opponent has, I presume, 6 fully live cards. And with an Uro coming in the not too distant future, just Tezzeret plussing and getting as much card advantage I can out of this is probably better than trying to make 5/5s that are just going to get walled by Uro. And if my opponent uses mana on Uro, that's mana that's not going towards Swords to Plowshares or whatever. Oh fuck. Oh shit. Okay. We're probably dead. Recruiter of the Guard. We'll get Recruiter for the Guard. And that'll repeat a couple times. After my opponent has played their 4th Recruiter, they're going to probably get Arctic Merfolk. They're going to kick Arctic Merfolk to return a Recruiter to hand. Recruiter gets Cavern Harpy. And now, for the low cost of 1 life, my opponent will be able to kind of continue their chains. So, Arctic Merfolk kicks, does the thing. Recruiter will now go and get a win condition. Presumably Parasitic Strix, and I will die. I'm not going to make my opponent click through this. We will get drained out here. GG's. Knowing what I know now, the fact that we are not playing against an actual control deck, Tezzeret minusing would have been 100% correct. Now that I know the matchup that we are in. Okay, so I've got some stuff that I can think about. Now no Pithing Needle goes on Cavern Harpy. My Snaring Bridges sure aren't going to be great in this matchup, huh? My opponent has a bunch of small flyers and can just kill me through Ensnaring Bridge. This makes their Uro better if I take these out. Am I fine with that? I'm probably fine with that. So we will probably bring in 4 fair removal spells. Force of Negation is good against the card Allurin, and that's about it. EE is medium. EE is going to become a force. Do I even want Chalice? Maybe I don't even want Chalice. Could cut all my Chalices, play 3 Force of Negations, keep the EE, or keep 1 Ensnaring Bridge, or play a Soul Guide Lantern. I could play a Soul Guide Lantern or a Grafdigger's Cage to help out with Uro. Let's play a Soul Guide Lantern. That one at least cantrips when I don't need it. This has a single mana, so this is an easy mulligan. This hand is very good. I just have to decide when I'm playing Urza's Saga. I think on turn 1, and I'm just going to plan on being the beatdown. Turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. Land drop, can't immediately cast this. I'm going to get rid of Sword of the Meek here. And we'll Pithing Needle Cavern Harpy on 1. And we're going to try to play an Urza's Saga game here. This will not be great versus Baleful Strix specifically. See if my opponent's just got like a cantrip for 1 or if they have a mana dork. It is Veteran Explorer. I have one of my 2 basics in hand, which is unfortunate. Urza Saga attacking into Veteran Explorer also, like, maybe not the happiest thing in the world. I'll have some thinking to do. Don't Baleful Strix me too. My poor little heart can't take it. Damn it. Yeah. All right. Start has gotten so much worse. All right. We're making constructs. It's just what I've got to do. And I have to decide if I want Mox Opal or Shadow Spear. I think long term I want the Shadow Spear. Just like a little awkward because I also want to just immediately play a new Urza Saga. I think I wait 1 turn and don't attack here. Waiting that 1 turn lets me play a couple more artifacts. And I don't currently know how badly my opponent needs these extra lands. Well, they found another land. Okay, yeah. No, that's fine. Talk about a curve. Welp. Okay. 2 damage. Play this thing. go to punchies. Declare punchies. My opponent might not want to block with Veteran Explorer anymore. Oh, they do. Oh, they don't. Okay, yep. Alright. So now, go ahead and drop a new Urza Saga. And pass the turn. I've got to be the beatdown here. Things probably aren't going to get better for me. Like, assuming that I activate Ancient Tomb twice, I'm effectively at 10 life, which is a 4-turn clock, probably more realistically a 3-turn clock if my opponent plays other stuff. But a lot of that depends on how much they can interact with this. All right. Oof's getting in there. That's fine. I'm at 12. They've got something they're thinking about. They're not taking any game actions. Force of Negation is great. That gives me something to do with Baleful Strix. I have a weird turn here, in that if my opponent blocks with Veteran Explorer, some portion of the time I don't actually want to play this artifact land. And if they don't block with Veteran Explorer, I desperately want to play Seat, because it changes my clock. Icefang Coatl can also be flashed in. I think I just attack. I can make not sorcery, like an Urza Saga token on my own turn if I need to do the 6th point of damage this turn. The difference between 5 and 6 matters. The difference between 6 and 7 probably doesn't. Okay, they are going to take the block. That's fine. All right. I get 1 land here. And I get to decide whether or not I would like to play Baleful Strix. It's a little awkward because that would drop Force of Negation. Alurin, in theory, is already covered. I think I just play this and don't play Strix. Because then this allows me to make my Urza Saga token without losing life. Playing Strix is just really awkward if my opponent ends up having Bowmasters. Yeah, we will go ahead and attempt to counter that. Veil of Summer could happen. Force of Will could happen. Understood. So we're not dead to this, but it's horrifying still. So my opponent can do the same thing as before, where they get a bunch of recruiters. So let's see what happens after they cast the 4th recruiter. Aether Channeler. Sure. So they can bounce my Pithing Needle here. Oh, they're going to just return recruiter. That's fine. So they'll... Okay, they got Cavern Harpy. So do you have an Arctic Merfolk already? I needled this on turn 1. Oh wait, it's just not going to matter. They're going to bounce Channeler with the trigger, Channeler, bounce Pithing Needle, and then combo off. So much for my protection. Yep. I will concede as soon as they... Oh. They just had it all in hand. They do control a black permanent. They control Cavern Harpy. So I am dead. GG's. We were doing a decent job of fighting through the Collector Roof. Okay. I have a hand that doesn't really do anything. I don't think I want Hide Behind Ensnaring Bridge with no pressure to be my primary plan. That's the wrong artifact land. Is this still fine? It's probably good enough. Fetch 1 Emry here. Alright. Land pass. Urza's Workshop. I mean, I respond to that. We'll see what my opponent names. It's probably not going to be any of the cards in my hand. Might be like Street Wraith or Troll or just another fetch land. Wasteland is reasonable, thinking that I am Grixis Delver. I am not. Hey, that's 1 card late, but we take that. So this is a 1-mana Emry. Hitting some reasonable things. I have Tezzeret next turn, who's probably on some aggro duty. That occurs. I might have to Force of Will, like a 1-ring or something here. Yeah, no. You do not get that. Now I'm going to have to play an Emry-based game. To hedge against another Karn happening, I probably fetch with Underground Sea this turn. Fetch for Underground Sea, rather. Alright. Yeah. I can preemptively have a 50-50 shot at naming like Mystic Forge versus the One Ring versus Karn. Maybe I let them have whatever for one turn and then do it later. Let's get the Shadow Spear into play. This is a pretty undesirable situation that I'm in. Yep. So, is this just an ancient tomb? Is that where we're at? A Bojuka Bog. Sure. That's reasonable. That clears my Pithing Needle. Is a longer term problem for them. That's a fine draw. Yeah. We will play this land. We will. Throw the Yorion to hand. And crash in for some damage. The Yorion's pretty good. Like, Blinking Emry and Baleful Strix both do relevant things to the game state. 6 total mana. I'm going to swing in with both of these, and then I have some thinking to do. I can play Chalice on 1, so that my opponent can't play like Voltaic Keys and Manifold Keys to untap this, and also can't Expedition Map. But moving forward, the ground is going to get stalled. So I think it is just more important for me to play the Yorion here. 1, 2, 3. We get to draw a new card. That's okay. I have 6 in the air coming with some amount of ability to get a little cheeky. A Wasteland, sure. Another Thopter Foundry. Got it. Without thinking too hard here, I'm always equipping Yorion. And I'm always using this to cast something. So, bam bam. My opponent's a 9. I'm just short of lethal next turn, aren't I? Because I can play Thopter Foundry, make 2 Thopters. That doesn't get me to where I need to be. So if that doesn't get me to where I need to be, I'm just going to use this turn to cast a Thopter Foundry and play Chalice on 1. Bam. And bam. My opponent could manually untap Grim Monolith here. They did not. Opposing Shadow Spear could make this game weird. Okay, there's an untap for Monolith. And now my opponent can do something like the One Ring or whatever. It is Karn. Which is obviously very good against my artifact deck. Bridge is pretty bad if my opponent has a land drop. They do. Okay. I can't activate Thopter Foundry now to get 1/1s. Can't cast that for a super relevant number. Also, Karn can just plus on this and blow it up. So I think I am supposed to play a new Emry, keep the old Emry, and try to fish for something new to play out of graveyard. Whiff. Let's send at Karn. Karn goes to 2. I think I am just playing a secondary one of these. That way, if my opponent Karn pluses on one of them, I still have a second one, and then I can replay the other one via Emry. Okay, going after my lands, that's fine. Untap on the Monolith. There's Mystic Forge. Alright, City of Traders is down. My opponent, at some point, could double Wasteland my Underground Seas and leave me with very, very, very few things that I can actually do. Oof. New Karn. There's an exile for Mystic Forge. And I lose another land. Note that Emry is a cast, not a play, and that difference matters here. I think I'm comfortable conceding. My opponent has Mystic Forge and active Karn. Most of my permanents don't do anything. They're about out of hand size range. I'm going to move on with my life. So we would like Grafter's Cage so my opponent can't cast stuff off the top of their library with Mystic Forge. And I probably want Force of Negation to stop my opponent's various haymakers. I need to probably not be playing Ensnaring Bridge. Like, my opponent is the Ensnaring Bridge deck in this matchup. I want to do big punchies with artifacts. EE is mid. I will probably play it. I'm probably going to keep Thopter Foundries because they are blue and pitch to my 8 force effects. And I think I do that. Battle at the bridge to clear out a construct token on the other side of the table is not crazy. Like, this is very much not a Sword of the Meek matchup. So I think I'll play one of those, hoping to never draw it, but, you know. Yeah, this hand's great. It's a little tough to play. I think I just Chalice on 1 on turn 1 and stop the various key effects from hitting play. It's just a little weird, because if I do this, then my Urza Saga gets more awkward if I don't draw another land. I kind of want to just turbo Tezzeret, Tezzeret --, dead my opponent. A Wasteland is super awkward for me. I need more land. I'm going to play it here in the hopes of spiking a land to play Dimir Signet next turn. Alright, my opponent's got mana. Unsurprisingly. Hell yeah. Alright, cool. We will fetch, do Underground Sea. Underground Sea lets me drop the Signet so that next turn I can cast either Tezzeret or Trinisphere. Probably Tezzeret. Am I good with that? If that resolves, then my future counterspells don't do anything. I think I have to counter this. I'm not excited about countering it. And I am going to go for floating mana here. Grab a Mox Opal. 4 mana Tezzeret, and we're going aggro here. I'm gonna turn this Chalice into a critter so it can crash in, and I'm gonna follow up with a Chalice on 0, I think. No, maybe another Chalice. No, I want to put a Chalice on 0 so that I can animate it next turn and attack with it. But I value these artifacts pretty highly right now. Alright. How bad is it? Variable amounts of bad. Yep. Cool. My opponent is dead on board. Land drop. I suppose I will cast a Trinisphere before I animate my thing. Yep. Minus on Chalice. Crash in for 10. Alright, hell yeah. Now let's do that, but on the draw, which is significantly harder. This hand has a single mana source, so this is a no-go. This is going to be a keep. I have to figure out how I'm doing it, because it's a weird one. There's no world where I throw back Tezzeret. Trinisphere is weird in that, like, my opponent very well might end up playing that, but it helps a lot with Mystic Forge combo. I think I am going to pitch this and hope that I find something better to do with my mana than Trinisphere. I would also like to find a blue card that's not Tezzeret. Like, turn 3 Tezzeret is very much my plan. Yes. This EE is wild right now. Because, like, I can play it on 1 and intend on cracking it next turn to blow up Manifold Key, or I can play it on 0 and use it to clear Urza Saga Construct tokens. I think I'm going to play a non-artifact land and just pass the turn and stay flexible. Not playing it is weird if my opponent jams a Trinisphere next turn, but that would be giving up Urza Saga value, so I don't really know that they would do that. Oh? If I force this Grim Monolith, my opponent never gets Urza Saga Construct tokens, and then I can also clear Manifold Key and whatever else they fetch up with Urza Saga. Alright. And I'm going to just preemptively fetch and take a land out of the deck. Emry. This is hopefully fine to do. Sometimes it isn't. There's a Chalice in there and a Thopter Foundry in there. So the nightmare scenario is double Manifold Key, opponent has a Monolith, Monolith double untap into one of the 4-drops. My opponent did not float a mana off Urza Saga. That's a mistake. Yep. Yeah, so now they can't Emry and Expedition Map search since they messed that up. Which is super relevant because I'm about to blow up their Expedition Map. Yeah, this is a brutal punish. So if I play Ancient Tomb and then Dimir Signet, I have 3 total mana. Is the amount of mana that I need to do the thing that I would like to do. Alright. X is 1. Blow that up. 2 for 1 my opponent. Pretty savagely punish their misplay. And we're hoping to tax Karakas as a resource. Did not succeed. Pithing Needle resolves. What would you like to name? Probably Tezzeret? Yes, they have named Tezzeret. Yeah. Not the biggest fan of that. So we will throw Yorion into my hand. And I will continue to play this. At some point, we may pressure my opponent's mana enough that they don't bounce Emry, and I get some goodies. Like, there's strong cards in my graveyard. Alright. I'd love to find my Pithing Needle for that Karakas. Oh my god, why? Uh-huh. I don't believe that you name Emry. Like, you have Emry and Yorion covered with Karakas. I don't know. I play Yorion, Yorion gets bounced. I take 10. I play Yorion, Yorion gets bounced. I take 10. More Urza Saga constructs are coming. I am comfortable conceding here. GG's. Alright. Round 4. I don't have acceleration. Ancient Tomb is definitely feeling like the best card in the deck. Like, those openers that have Ancient Tomb into Dimir Signet, where I can just play a 4-drop on turn, like a turn early, 2 turns early rather, feel really good. Alright, are we masquerading as Black-Red Reanimator or a control deck for a turn? Masquerade as a control deck for a turn. I'm not going to masquerade as Black-Red Reanimator when I revealed Yorion. Are you Dryad Arboring? You are Tropical Islanding. As of right now, my turn 2 play is probably just Chalice of the Void. Ooh. JK, it's Baleful Strix. Oh, maybe that's not true, though. So, if my opponent has protection, I'm in trouble. I think I'm actually supposed to play Chalice of the Void here, so I can't just get berserked and die if I block. This also stops cantrips. Like, sometimes I just die to multiple invigorates or whatever. Yes. Yeah, my opponent having more creatures is just horrifying. Okay, there's an invigorate. Opponent's just doing it while the coast is clear. And I'm at 5 infect. I probably don't have time to play Trinisphere. I'm going to play a Baleful Strix around a Daze. And then do a Mox Opal. 2 mana doesn't get me anywhere this turn. I'm trading with this one 100% of the time. I can, in theory, block the Glistener Elf on the ground next turn. I'm still just dead to 3 Blighted Agent attacks, though, which is a problem. I don't know that I can get my hand low enough for Ensnaring Bridge since I've drawn so many lands. Opal. Chalice? I think Chalice. If I always have Opal, I can double Trinisphere next turn and maybe get my count low enough. Yeah, that's not gonna do what you want it to. If this is just for a scale up, like, so be it. Alright. Dead to invigorate at any time. There's a signet. Is this a May? It is a May. Let's plus. Can I take Ensnaring Bridge? Cast Trinisphere and Ensnaring Bridge this turn. I really can't take it right now, right? Need Ensnaring Bridge to be my next draw? I'm just fighting cards in hand here. Yeah, okay. Alright. So we'll go ahead and shuffle an Ensnaring Bridge back into our deck. Grab an Underground Sea. Grab a Trinisphere. Since a Trinisphere is in play. Oh, fuck. Did this deterministically give it to me if I play the Signet? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Have this in hand. Can cast both of these. Do this. 3, 6, 7. No, 8 mana. No, okay, so I was correct. Alright, I eat 1 from Blighted Agent. I have to go Hellbent. Looks like my opponent has Murktide Regent. That'll do. That'll do. Okay. Fetch. Underground Sea. This one's annoying, so let's do this. Trinisphere. Transmute Artifact. Sacrifice a Trinisphere. Get Ensnaring Bridge. Plus Tezzeret. I have played a land drop. I will not put anything into my hand accordingly. Pass turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 artifacts. Your Brainstorm is countered. Alright. Plus Tezzeret. Thopter Foundry is good. Any order on the rest of those? Dimir Signet, Thopter Foundry. With an extra mana. Pass turn. I can now start sacrificing a couple of artifacts so that I can make attacks. Let's pay 1. Sacrifice a Signet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I am fine doing that again. Sacrificing the other Signet. Mox Opal can go too. Yep. Alright. Good stuff. I guess this is a reason to not have... it doesn't matter. So let's ship in for 3 in the air. My opponent goes to 15. Let's minus this Tezzeret at you. And just kill my opponent. Good stuff. Ooh. That was a tough one. So I would like Battle at the Bridge and Toxic Deluge. Those cards are going to be very good. Force of Negation is medium. Shadow Spear is unnecessary in this matchup. I will need 3 more cuts. Emry plus Baleful Strix or Emry plus EE is good, so Emry's probably not a cut. Urza's a little slow here. I'm thinking about Urza and Sword of the Meek. I don't really need to go infinite versus my opponent. I just need to do enough. And so my next question is, like, do I play Force of Negation? I think I'm having enough trouble with cuts already that I don't do Force of Negation. I am perfectly happy with this opening hand. I'm keeping this assuming that Emry gets pitched to a Force of Will at some point. And I think this is that point. I need to get to these cards. And we're just gonna go after the first thing that I can go after here. Ooh, we're gonna hold that. My mana's tight this game, but sometimes this needs to go on 2 to kill a Blighted Agent that my opponent protects. Yep, that's fine. I don't think they have a counterspell just kind of based on the timing of the things that they've done so far. So we're going to try to kill this with Battle at the Bridge on my own turn here. And see if that works. It does work. So we know my opponent doesn't have counterspells, and they also don't have Invigorate. which probably means that they just have a creature-heavy hand. It's awkward that Strix doesn't line up against that. EE does. I do have to play EE out this turn to 100% guarantee that I can kill a Blighted Agent next turn, which is awkward because I really want to be improving my mana. My opponent may have interaction now. That was kind of the first time that they weren't just F6ing through all my shit. Yes. Yep. I mean, what do you want me to do? I stopped 2 different things and then died anyway. My opponent also had to have recently drawn that Invigorate because they didn't have it to, or maybe wouldn't save a creature from removal. That's okay. So, do I want Force of Negation this game? Could go down some more Urzas for Force of Negation. The issue with more counterspells is, like, the counterspells are the thing that are very awkward with Ensnaring Bridge later on in the game. So the more of those I board in, the higher a chance I have to just eventually lose to drawing my own counterspells. Force of Will at least can be pointed at my own stuff in some weird fringe lines. Not so much with Force of Negation, so I think I'm good with this. This doesn't feel fast enough, and also doesn't have double blue. This has 1 land. This is not where I want to be. This is now a 5-card hand. On 5, this probably becomes a keep. If previous games are any indication, I don't super have time for Dimir Signet. I am a little worried. There's a lot of hands that my opponent can have that will line up well versus this one. Wow, that is fucking aggressive. I don't know that that was correct. Like, my opponent gets 2 permanents and better permanents at that if they just chill for 1 turn. They took me off of 1 mana source that I didn't have a play with. So now my opponent plays Blighted Agent, and I play Chalice of the Void, maybe shutting off their combo kill. And then they won't have a thing that gets to tell me no. Is this an Urza Saga situation? Like, is my plan just dedicate mana to this repeatedly from here, or is my plan Strix next turn? I think my plan is Strix next turn. This is not a hard nope out of the game. Sure. That is frustrating. Alright. I just have no reason to play this Urza Saga. I'm just going to get 5 turned by these Blighted Agents. And that is what it is. 5 poison counters. I actually don't really know that I'm on outs anymore. 7. Okay. Bam. Oh, this isn't... I won't have Metalcraft. So this is not going to allow me to play Emry. Alright. I'm out. GG's. Alright, I'll be keeping this opening hand. Emry probably gets pitched to Force of Will with this hand. And we are likely, not 100%, but likely to play a Chalice of the Void into Urza Saga hand. I might slow my roll on the Urza Saga if I naturally draw some lands that look like they are going to allow me to cast actual Urza. And the games have been going fast enough with this deck that I'm not just going to concede, even though I'm 0-4. That's an awkward one, in that if I don't use this Force of Will now, it will become considerably worse later. I am going to go ahead and snipe this, even though I don't really want to counter that card. I don't know how reliant on that mana my opponent is. Like, I don't know what degree of greed pile my opponent is playing over there. But non-ironic generous Ent in the Legacy. Fetching basic Forest. They might be hedging against me being a Blood Moon deck. Okay, yeah, so I don't want to Urza Saga. Well, I can Ancient Tomb Signet Urza Saga Strix, and then start activating Urza Saga. That's probably fine. let's go ahead and do that. Saga, make blue-black, do the burb. Another Signet. Wonder what exactly my opponent's doing. Hard casting Once Upon a Time. Finding a land drop. Taking out that Delighted Halfling definitely slowed my opponent down a lot. That's very clear. Ooh. Let's fetch with this bad boy, and then let's think of it. If I go 1, 2, 3, 4, I can cast Urza. So I need to do this and filter, cast Urza, make that construct. I can now go 1, 2, cast Dimir Signet, and still have 2 mana available to activate Urza's Saga. And I imagine that my opponent dies somehow next turn. Yeah, that's fine. That's kind of where I thought this was going. So tap Strix and Signet for mana. Do this. Sure. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this. Pithing Needle's fine. Shadow Spear is also fine. I don't think I need Shadow Spear. It's a nice backup, I guess, in case my opponent somehow is not dead. So, tap this. Tap this. Okay, my opponent's done with me. Yeah, so we could play Tezzeret minus, and attack with a whole bunch of bodies this turn. Equip Shadow Spear if we want. A lot of options. They were all going to the same general place. So I want my spot removal. Probably want Cage for Green Sun and Fiend Artisan and such, and I probably want some amount of Graveyard Hate. Probably not Leyline. This is probably not the ideal Trinisphere matchup. My opponent's deck does have Opposition Agent, but I think I'm fine playing a couple of fetch lands and Transmute Artifact. Chalice of the Void is not going to be super strong on the draw. It may be that when I'm on the draw, I cut Chalice of the Void to play Leyline of the Void. We do a Void for Void swap. The issue with this is that I might end up in a situation where like Leylines get stuck in my hand for Ensnaring Bridge purposes. I think I accept that. What are the other 2 cuts then? Emry? Emry Baleful Strix is nice. Sword of the Meeks? Maybe Sword of the Meeks. This is an auto mulligan over here. This is a keep. I keep this and I get rid of Transmute Artifact. That's fine. Anything that gets swept up by Toxic Deluge is ultimately fine. Now, my Toxic Deluge does happen on turn 3, so we would like to avoid a Grist happening before then. That's the thing that would mess with me the most, because it's a win condition that gets around Bridge, locking my opponent out via combat. Damn it! Yep. Alright. I've got a little harder. Yikes. Emry is not what I am looking for. We'll just drop this here Signet. Ugh, Grist Loyalty is going to just be so very high. That's a Collector Oof. Yep. Uh-huh. I'm gonna eat this damage. So there is some question for, like, how much do I sandbag this Toxic Deluge? Like, do I try to greed more than I am currently greeding? Feels like the answer is probably no. Like, this is Stone Raining my opponent twice in addition to clearing the Collector Oof. And unfortunately, I do not have the mana to access Dimir Signet right now. Not that Emry is fully discounted either. Yep. Yep. And this sort of thing is the reason why you wait. Grist plus Fiend Artisan probably means that I'm dead. Like, I play this Ensnaring Bridge so I don't die to the Fiend Artisan, but my opponent just has good stuff going on over there. Dismember. I don't think that's worth countering. Maybe it is, so I can't get attacked by insects. And if I make my opponent grist minus, so I don't get an ensnaring bridge, ult some other axes. Let it go. Fiend Artisan is a problem. It just represents outs to something like a pithing needle that I could draw to stop grist from killing me. And it's not counterable. Yep. Yep. Seems good. Uh-huh. Alright. Play Emry. The stuff that goes to my graveyard doesn't super matter here. Yeah, I think this Force of Will is going to awkwardly get stuck in my hand since I didn't opt to counter last turn. I don't think that matters, though. Like, I think Grist plus active Fiend Artisan is just going to run away with this game. Yeah, I'm good conceding here. Let's go to the game where I'm on the play. So, do I want Leyline of the Void when I am on the play? Or do I just want to play Chalice? Make my, like, either one of these things is basically only good in the opener. The ley lines are more awkward when drawn later on, but they stop Fiend Artisan from growing, which is one of the few things that can check my construct tokens. I think I'm going to play the ley lines. Yeah, this is pretty much my ideal hand. Any hand that starts with Ancient Tomb and Dimir Signet, so I can play a 4-drop on turn 2, is very strong. So, Tomb, Signet, pass. See what my opponent does. Elvish Reclaimer, that's fine. And I can think about whether or not I want to actually kill that. Probably don't have to immediately. Let's grab an Underground Sea. Play Urza. Have a mana available. Playing out Soul Guide Lantern grows the construct token by 1, which is fine. This is not a May, right? Yeah, so I will nuke my Polluted Delta. That doesn't really matter, though. And then next turn, I can probably play Tezzeret and Battle at the Bridge something out of play. Yeah, I can tap this and make an extra mana on my way out. It feels like the artifact is probably worth more in play than anything else here. Yeah, this is fine. All right. This is not the Ensnaring Bridge game. I'm going to take a little bit of a risk here. I'm going to play Tezzeret and plus trying to hit any black source. I will have eight hits to do something kind of gross here. I think that's better than just turning this into a critter. Like, removing this Dryad Arbor is very good, but I don't think I can just kind of take a turn off to do it. Pithing Needle. I take 2 more life if I want to Pithing Needle. I don't think I want to do that. Let's grab Seat. So I miss on Battle at the Bridge, but I will cast it for a large number next turn, and hopefully that's fine. Ooh, maximum punished for not removing Dryad Arbor. Yes. Oh, geez. Okay. The texture of this game might change a bit. This might become an Ensnaring Bridge game awkwardly. I don't want it to be. Alright. Tezzeret ticks down 1 loyalty. Alright. Tap Dimir Signet. Play Urza, which nets me some mana. 1. I can Battle at the Bridge for 4. Or I can do it for 3 and also attack with Soul Guide Lantern. I think I'm the beat down here. Alright. Send them. No blocks from my opponent. Alright. Go to 2. Do I use my removal spell or do I wait? And how much do I cast it for at that? Alright. I think I'm going after Dryad Arbor. That denies the Dryad Arbor mana and 1 Gaia's Cradle mana. I have 16 power in play plus a Tezzeret that represents 5 more. Second Cradle. All right, my opponent didn't have anything. We do put 1 win on the board, but we end this league at a 1-4 record. So where does that leave us regarding our good friend Tezzerator? Going into this league, the donor and I both had pretty low expectations for a Yorion Tezzerator build, so let's start there. Generally speaking, I feel like the gap in power level between my best and worst cards in this deck was relatively high. Like, this was not a very good Emry deck because we're not playing baubles, and our Metalcraft count doesn't go up quite as quickly as it might in something like 8cast because of that. And also, my best hands were always like the Ancient Tomb Dimir Signet hand that lets me play these. So diluting that plan doesn't feel good. Like, I think it is pretty easy to remove a decent chunk of this deck and end up with a somewhat acceptable but weak for the format's standards Tezzeret deck. I wasn't playing baubles because Orcish Bowmasters is just absolutely everywhere. And, like, while I'm okay with my Baleful Strix getting pinged or whatever, my Planeswalker getting pinged is a huge deal. Now, maybe I can just play my own Bowmasters, but I'm trying to stay on theme here, and I need to keep my artifact count as high as possible so the Tezzeret Plus actually hits threats and relevant cards as frequently as possible. Maybe this deck still needs Thought Monitor, but again, my Metalcraft count, even in playing the 8 artifact lands, is still lower than it will be in 8cast. So that's very much a thing as well. Ultimately, I think I improved what was originally submitted, but I think A, Tezzerator is a little low for the format's power level, and B, trying to do a Yorion Tezzerator build specifically is like another step beyond that makes life a little bit difficult. Like, the games were fun, they were nostalgic, and I hope you enjoyed them. You end up needing to pick up any paper cards, check out Cool Stuff Inc. Use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order, and folks, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. See ya!